Good evening and welcome to another program of NCLO Presents. That's a National Commission on Law and Order. As usual, we have a very interesting subject this evening to talk about the conduct of police along with the rights and responsibilities of the public. This, I must say, is a pretty wide area for discussion, and I'm not sure how much we can get through this evening. Also, it is an interactive program where in about 20 minutes or so we will be opening up the telephone lines and invite you, the viewers, to join in the discussion with your questions, observations, and contributions generally. I have with me Capt.Gerry Gouveia, who is a commissioner on the National Commission on Law and Order. He is a private sector representative, and he has been in the commission for about 2 years or so. We are expecting some other members of the commission, so as soon as they come in, they will join the panel here. Captain, I want to thank you very much for coming in. As I mentioned, we are talking about the conduct of police and also the rights and responsibilities of the public. In a general sense, we know that there's a lot of expectations when it comes to the conduct of policemen on the road, in the police stations, dealing with matters of law and order nature. Your comments on that?
You know, I want to say to you that I bring to the table a private sector perspective and also my own training in issues of national security and so on. And at I think it was a year ago, maybe in 2009, we were at the National Defense University of Washington, and we were talking to a white cross section of police officers from around the Caribbean. And one of the things that came out very, very clear, it was to remind police officers and policemen across the region, across the world, that there's a life after the uniform. There's a life after the uniform. And so the conduct, the things that you do, the kind of police force that you help create, that you condone, may very well come back to either enhance your country or haunt your country based on your conduct, based on the kind of things that you do when you're in uniform. Because the policeman do possess a level of power within the ambit of what he's doing. But that always he must remember that he's serving the public, and this is police service, and that there's a reason that we talk about policemen and not military men, not army on the road, because of the training. There's a different one is to deal with the community, because police work depends on the community around the policeman, supporting the policeman in his job. So the policeman must never become the enemy of the public he serves. That there's allies, that's where you get his intelligence, that's where you get his help. A lot of times there's one or two policemen in the community doing their work. So that the idea is we start off by saying, always remember that there's a life after this uniform. And what you create may very well come back to haunt you. You create a police force that is insensitive, that is cruel to people. One day your children, your friends could be subjected and victims of that kind of behavior. So it is actually quite an important topic, and one which I believe that we need to continue to remind police officers of their responsibility, first of all, as servants of our country, but particularly that the power that is invested in them is one where they interface with the community to build bridges and build relationships with the police force. The police force cannot achieve their objectives in a society where the society is hostile to the police.
Yeah, and of course they have to operate within a certain parameter.
That's right. I mean, there's particular issues of respect for human rights, for human dignity, for self-esteem, and that you do not violate those things. I mean, there are times when you may have laws, and the way the police, if they're on the street, for example, trying to correct infractions on parking, and the way they approach that job, and when the drivers attempt to talk to them, their attitude to those drivers. I think there has been a time when the Tourism Association, for example, got involved with the police training college to help. We became part of the curriculum to talk about issues of service, issues of hospitality, to teach the softer side of service to the policemen. And I think that is something we need to continue to do, to ensure that our policemen, they enforce the law, they uphold the law, but they're not above the law.
Yeah, and they don't abuse.
That's right, and they don't abuse people as they go about their duties. Mind you, I think a lot of the policeman's behavior on the street is also very reflective of the kind of leadership. And so if the commanders do not enforce and insist on the kind of discipline, on the kind of order, and that the police complaints commission that they have, it is not an independent body. That people really have a sense of feeling that you could go and have a real independent hearing if you have any infringements by the police force. And so those are issues that we need to work ourselves through. But I'll tell you, the Law and Order Commission is a extremely important part of our law enforcement body, and it's made up of civil society, of the judiciary, members of the opposition, and we sit there and we look once a month at very detailed issues of law and order, how it affects, whether it's traffic, whether it's police conduct, and it is part of that process. But we look at the judiciary, we look at the issues of prisons, and across the sector. So, but we need to be able to hear from the public as well. So when there are issues that are affecting the public, we, for example, sat there to hear sometimes very daunting reports of there's an anti-crime policemen on the streets, and you see them either sometimes walking on their motorbikes. And we have had reports that some of these policemen are actually trying to become traffic policemen, and that is totally against police policy. So you have individual policemen that is sometimes crossing the line to take advantage of people. And the Law and Order Commission is now focusing on those, and we have people looking at it.
You mentioned a lot has to do with the commanders ensuring that their ranks operate in a professional and in conduct that is
That's right.
befitting of them. But we are still having problems. I mean, below the commander, there are other senior officers who need to ensure that this doesn't happen.
But that is the point. I mean, throughout the command structure, whether you're talking about the corporal, the sergeant, and the inspectors, and so on, I think that the issue is very important as they manage the discipline and how they dispense their duties on a daily basis. Because people in the public must have respect for a policeman, and we must be able to somehow get back that the policeman must be respected, the policeman must be supported, because remember, Martin, that law and order and police work cannot be achieved only by force, only by the policeman arriving and somehow bullying their way into the it must be achieved. It must be achieved by concurrence, by assistance from the communities around you, in intelligence, in assisting policemen, and so on. We don't want to live in a society, and the police could not manage a society that is totally against them. So the police training college, the police force. In fact, if I had my way, I'd love to see them become the police service. And in California, after the Rodney incident, where they had the riots in California, they actually found that the police had no sympathy in the communities. And so a lot of the anger came out was because people did not feel akin with the police. So they actually changed their approach to policing in the communities. I would say to you that because we are such a small country, and a lot of our policemen are from our communities, there's a lot of goodwill, but there's a lot of work need to be done, need to continue, and the policemen need to continue to be sensitized of their responsibility, not to make themselves enemies of the communities in which they serve, but that they must remain friendly with the communities, because the community is what they need to get their job done.
You mentioned the training college briefly. Based on your experience and what your knowledge here, how deep is the training in terms of conduct of policemen?
Well, they've actually been a tremendous assistance in the security sector reform that is going on internally. That is, the government of Guyana is actually, and through the IDB and so on, have been
citizen security program.
Not that. I mean, that is part of it. But this is where they actually did. There was an entire 12-month program done by it's an American company, came in with trainers, and they actually went into the training college, and they did the trainers and trainers. So they were training instructors to do that training. So there was almost a complete revamping of the training methods and so on. And I've actually been there and I listened to some of the sessions by the trainers that came in, and I think it would have helped the police tremendously. But the question is that with the best training, it is the actually implementation, and again comes back to the police commissioner, comes back to his officers, and what is it they're demanding from these men. And when you have policemen in the streets who might have crossed the line in harassing people and being unkind to people, what kind of recourse the public do have, and what kind of discipline is meted out to those ranks. As an example, first of all, to prevent them, but then as an example to others who may want to do the same thing. We see, and sometimes the police, I think, need to be a little bit more sensitive in the way they operate. I have seen, for example, where they're on a Friday night, on a Saturday night, when we have tourists and out in the streets, we have people coming out to relax. They've worked very hard during the week, and people are on a Friday night, they're out there relaxing, and we have no parking places, no parking signs on the streets, which is primarily good for during the commercial hours. And in most major cities at night, those no parking are relaxed. Yeah. But here we have our police force would unleash their towaway trucks, and there are people who are parked on these positions in front of nightclubs, and the police are there towing away people's cars, and I've seen that kind of confrontation many times, and I wish it wasn't so. I wish that Guyanese could go out at night, and this is a purely private sector perspective for me. I wish that they could go out at night and enjoy themselves without having this fear, where we could relax those no parking positions in front of nightclubs. I'm not talking about parking in corners. I'm not talking about parking in the middle of the road. I am saying that we must, our policymakers, the people who are imposing these rules and regulations, must also take into consideration that we must be able to go out and relax and let off some steam and have a good time, rather than every time you do that and you drive down Main Street at night between from the Bank of Guyana all the way up to Lamaha Street, you see the tow trucks there, and they're towing away people's vehicles, and I think we need to be a little bit more. We should find a different approach.
Is this something that the NCLO is looking at? I mean,
actually, I am also the chairperson of what is called the Public Confidence and Support Subcommittee of the LCO, and I just wrote a report that is being presented to the Commission of Law and Order on this matter, on many other matters, but this particular one is going to be presented at the very next meeting, because it is something that the subcommittee looked at, that we found as we talk about how could the police be friendly, how could the police befriend the public, how could you stop the animosity, where the police responsibility is to enforce the law, but then sometimes there are laws that you could really slacken off at nights. There should no parking, and that is creating tension between the public and policemen who are innocently doing their work, and they're being sent there to do that job. And maybe we need to look at things like that. So we are actually addressing it and there are other people who may have different opinions, who believe that if no parking is there, that it should be there permanently and forever. Well,
I believe there must be some flexibility.
Exactly. And if you travel and you see in all cities, during the commercial hours, there's no parking, and during the times of entertainment, when people need to go out and relax and they're tourists, and you see people and you will see visitors to the country looking at that and say, it's so terrible. The police is harassing people who come out to do nothing else but relax.
In fact, in many places they do have signs. No parking between certain hours. And
right. And one-way streets between this time and so on. So I think those are things we need to look at. And at the Law and Order Commission, we are addressing it, and the police, the police commissioner and his senior officers sit there as well, and so they are part of that discussion. And so it's an interesting process. And the important thing for us is how do we get the complaints from the public, and people must feel that those complaints are going to be properly addressed. So there must be recourse for members of the public who feel they've been wronged, and policemen must also, I believe, we don't want slander against them, but certainly these accusations and reports must be properly investigated, and if they're guilty of it, they must be disciplined.
You touched a little on the perspective, your perspective as from the business community. Well, what are other concerns from the business community in terms of police conduct?
Well, like I said to you, we've been having numerous reports on the issue of the black clothes, the guys in the black clothes riding the motorcycles, and you could see them sometimes on the highways, and they're stopping people, and they're behaving like if they're traffic policemen. And that to me is something the police force need to look at. We are also talking about that internally, and that is not policy by the police force. This is individual policemen who are crossing the line,
using their authority.
That's right. And they're not there to look after traffic. They're there to do what we are all concerned about. They have a particular role. We have traffic policemen that will deal with traffic, but we have these crime fighters that are out there to deal with issues of crime, suspicious behavior, and so on. Not to be checking people, driver's license and their fitnesses and that type of thing. That is for the traffic policemen. And so that is a huge concern for us. Of course, there are other issues for us, but which got a lot more to do, for example, with the judiciary and the issues of the police prosecutors coming up against professional lawyers, and so there's a lot of work being done, and the Law and Order Commission has actually been engaging in those issues. How do we train the police prosecutors to make them more efficient? There's been a lot of work being done there, and on that commission there's a lot of lawyers as well. So there's a lot of issues being dealt with at the commission.
The other part of the discussion, which has to do with rights and responsibilities of citizens, you touched on some of them: the Police Complaints Authority, and other areas, recourse that people can go after. But I don't get the impression that is happening a lot for various reasons.
Martin, I'm always very proud to say that I believe that today, where I sit as a Guyanese businessman, I probably live, I believe, in one of the freest countries in this hemisphere. And I know there are people who got their views, but that is my personal, very strong conviction and view. And sometimes, though, when I see the policemen, like my company, we handle 4,000 people a year that come in. And when those people go out on the streets or they go to restaurants and they witness any type of police infringement on people's human rights, on people's, the rights of a person to be treated with dignity, the rights of a person to have their pride and their self-esteem intact, and policemen cross that line, it do tremendous damage to our country and our country's image. Because here we are trying to make Guyana a better place, and you have individual policemen doing that. Or at one time you had a tremendous amount of there was almost a campaign that was going around and picking up people from nightclubs and where they had noise. They said it was like the fish shop on Hatfield Street. And I've had so much reports of policemen picking up the people in those clubs and beating them. And I mean, we investigated that thing, and I think when the commanders were changed, it was stopped. But then again, every now and again, you hear that you have that type of crossing of the line by policemen. Citizens must have the right. Citizens must never be assaulted by police officers. If of course people are resisting an arrest, a lawful arrest, or they're obstructing the police. But the reports we're getting sometimes is that it's just sheer ignorance on the part of some policemen who treat citizens like that, and we must deal with those policemen, I think, very, very strongly, because the damage they're doing to the image of our country is way beyond. This is one small incident for a policeman, but it's a huge incident for Guyana, being witnessed by our overseas-based Guyanese, by our fellow citizens right here, or foreigners visiting our country. It's a huge problem for us, Martin.
You are watching and listening to NCLO Presents, and just to remind you, the topic for this evening is the conduct of police along with the rights and responsibilities of the public, and with me is Capt.Gerry Gouveia. At this point, as I promised, we're going to ask that the telephone lines be opened up. The numbers will be on screen, and we're going to invite your participation on the program. Captain, if you can continue the discussion while we await some calls here. The police needs the public in order to succeed in their work.
Well, the point is that I think in general, people join the police force because they are good people. People join the police force because they want to give service to our country. And so in general, I believe the large amount of policemen and women are good people, and people who are providing good service to our people. But then you have a few of them that I believe they get in there and they see opportunities and they cross the line, and then they tarnish the good name of the police force.
And it just takes one or two
one of them, yes,
to do that.
And then that ends up damaging the image of Guyana. And it's something that I think every Guyanese should be on the lookout for, and we should be concerned about it.
All right, let's go to the telephone. Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, thanks very much for coming through.
I'm calling concerning the issue you guys were discussing on TV right now.
Sure.
With the whole prospect of police brutality and so on, we got to look at it from this perspective. We don't have any representation for the local people. You have a situation where you get police brutality going on, and the moment you go to the station, you are always a victim. And this comes from the fact that the people who are supposed to represent us don't take the time to do that. All their concern is about their well-being, and the poor citizens, we always suffer. And this is not now. This is from across Guyana. Instead of persons living up to the responsibility, instead of persons fulfilling their civic duty, what they do, enjoy the benefits of being in some office, enjoy the benefits of reaping the benefits of that, and we don't do anything. And I'm grateful that persons can talk now and recognize citizens could come out now, but we need more than this, because every day you find police brutality. You're seeing lawlessness like police accepting bribes, you're seeing police, a whole lot of different stuff. But where is the law? Where are the people supposed to represent us? No way. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You see, Martin, this is an extremely important point.
Yeah.
And this is, you see, people must, a lot of it sometimes people must have the feeling of recourse. They must have the feeling of justice. Due process and natural justice people must have the feeling of it. And the fact that even though we know there's a police complaints authority, even though we know that, I mean, it seems like people don't have confidence in what is happening.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to.
Yes.
I don't get the impression that a lot of people are using that mechanism.
And maybe they're not using it because they don't have the confidence in it. And so maybe that body needs to do something with their PR. They need to reach out to the public and give the public the confidence. Because this is all about public perception, you know.
Yeah, I know Mr. Kennard has been doing that to some extent. He has been going out in communities, he's appeared on television, advising citizens what the police complaints authority is all about, and encouraging them to come forward.
And you know, if you look at the police record in the last 4 to 5 years, there have been many policemen that went before the courts as well for infringement. So it's not that it's not working, but I believe that maybe we are not doing a good enough PR job. And the fact remains, like the gentleman said, I mean, even as we speak here now, we still have citizens that are being victims of the excesses. We still have people being taken advantage of. And so it is not in the interest of Guyana that any one of us sit down and allow our uniformed policemen or any kind of law enforcement official to do that type of thing to our citizens.
Yeah.
It damages the whole image of our country.
Let's take another
Yes.
call. Good evening.
Calling from Escabo here, one. Right now, on the Regina police station, running with a cable rocket here.
All right, that was a brief call. I don't think we can delve
Yes.
into that, but general perceptions would.
But you know, the other thing is, a person who called before also said that if you went to the police to report a crime or to report, then there's a feeling as well that you become a subject of the police treating you as if you're a criminal as well. And so I think we need to do a lot of work in terms of, and I said it before, in terms of training, in terms of the human side to this law enforcement, and to remind policemen that they're not foreigners that was somehow transplanted into Guyana. They're enforcing law and order amongst their countrymen.
Yeah.
They're part of us, and they need to be cognizant of that fact all the time.
Yeah.
That they're not our enemies and we're not their enemies, and that we need to be able to work together to make Guyana a better place.
Yeah, and just to remind viewers, Capt.Gerry Gouveia is in studio, but I'm sure there are many out there who are watching and listening, including senior ranks of the Guyana Police Force and others in authority. So they are listening to your concerns here. Good evening.
Yes, good evening.
Yeah.
We're talking about these same black clothes police, what Mr. Gouveia was talking about, who are playing traffic cops. I was stopped a couple of days ago. I mean, I was on my cell phone. I got, the police. But the thing is, the policeman, instead of giving me a ticket, he wanted to take me down to the East Lapenitas police station. I spent over 2 hours there before he took me in. He gone back out on the road, and I was at the police station sitting on a bench for 2 hours because I had a cell phone making a call, which I know well is against the law. Fine, give me a ticket and let me go my way. Why do I have to go to the police station? I need Mr. Gouveia to talk to the traffic wondering, because when I was there were two other gentlemen there, and they were in the same situation over 2 hours. They were sitting there waiting until this policeman comes in back. Thank you.
Can you say what happened in the end? Okay, we lost it.
But you see, Gay Martin, you see, these are the type of vexing issues. A person is admitting this, and I broke the law.
Yeah.
Well, dispense the law. Dispense it in an expeditious manner. Why are you taking people and treating them like criminals and put them in a police station? I mean, how are we going to, don't we have more important things to be doing?
Yeah.
And these are really vexing issues. So you have a citizen who admit that he broke the law. Well, okay, I'm sorry, but dispense the justice, dispense the penalty, and let me move on and make sure it don't happen again. And this again is not just the traffic chief. I don't believe so. I believe we need to have some policy direction in the way the police force treats the public. So you pull a man over for infringement of his license and something, and the way you treat him, you'll end up with a nation of very angry people who are going to be angry with the police, or people could take their penalties and not be angry with the police, because if you know you broke the law, then
they're paying for it.
Yeah. So and those are, to me, that's a policy. That's at a policy level where, and at the Law and Order Commission, I believe that it's the right place for it. So we are addressing it.
Yeah.
And hopefully that type of policy will be dispensed on.
Yeah, because the gentleman did say that he spent 2 hours. That's 2 hours wasted.
Productive time. That's right.
Lost.
That's right.
Yeah.
And if you do that to many citizens every day, what are we doing?
Sure. Good evening.
Hello, good evening, Mr. Martin and Mr. Gouveia. I'm calling from Cuba. Quickly, 3 things. I hear Mr. Gouveia talking about the no parking signs that you let go and so forth. But that is a no parking sign, whether day or night. If you can't park there. I was traveling Georgetown one time and I parked there. And the policeman come and tell me, man, I can't park there. The no parking sign has nothing to do with day and night. And secondly, that close in Guyana here in the Sikibo, we got these black clothes men who go in the area and they stop you and ask you for your documents. And if you don't have it, you have something. Now some people have to stop in the remote area because they're bushy area. They stop in the remote area, they don't have houses. So I feel that the black clothes men, if they're doing their duty, they're supposed to have a traffic police to stop you. Because sometimes as a businessman traveling, you might have large amounts of money, you might have people who travel with you. Something you scared to stop in the remote area because you don't know what can happen.
Yeah.
Today, you can't take chances. They're business people now and they're very scared of people. When you see a policeman, it's supposed to be so nice, feel free, and feel so great about them. But when you see that something, you are scared. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Well, you did mention...
Right, the issue with I see that this thing, and this is sometimes the mentality of some people. If you put a no parking sign, that it must be permanent. Well, a no parking sign is put there to ease traffic congestion and traffic obstruction and so on. But we must be sensible as we make policy as well. That if you know that at a particular time this area is now going to be transformed from a commercial busy area to one where people are now, it's more entertainment and so on, that we must be able to flex our policies to deal with those issues. So that is the one issue. And the other issues with the black clothes, maybe we spoke about that.
Yes. Spoke about it already. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening to you, gentlemen.
Yeah, thanks very much.
I'm happy that Captain Gouveia is part of this discussion here tonight. But I think, very importantly, a discussion of this nature perhaps needed to have a very senior police officer from the rank of an assistant commissioner or up, and also a very experienced legal mind and an attorney. It is a vitally important discussion, and I think it has 3 significant elements to it. First of all, police conduct and the public is a reciprocal relationship. And in a culture of crime psychology, where the public seem to very easily stigmatize the police, their job become much more difficult. And in Guyana today, the police work is significantly complicated and difficult as a result of public improper treatment and dealing with the law. Therefore, I see it from this perspective, that the police need to have some resolution process from within. Commanders ought to be able to discipline ranks for misdemeanor and malconduct. Other cases based on its significance and complexity should be dealt with and decided to punishment at the level of the Commissioner of Police. And cases where there's a lot of complexity involving legal issues, such persons should then face malconduct to go ignored, and police abuse in that consequence becomes escalated. In fairness to that system, the police internal disciplinary code needs to be emphasized insofar as respect for authority. You walk around the force headquarters and in other areas of police operation and you don't even see senior police officers receiving compliment. It seems to me that saluting is a thing of the past. And when they remedy the condition of two very important issues that I'm emphasizing here, one, respect for authority internally, quick internal resolution by giving public satisfaction to police malconduct, and thirdly, ensuring that the process of law, as and when necessary for police, defaults, is fulfilled in an effective and very efficient manner. I happen to have been an ex-Army officer, and I know Captain Gouveia very well, and in fact I'm going to tell you who I am. I'm Captain Arnold Christiani from the Guyana National Service. And this matter touches my heart because I've been subject to knowing the law and the categorization of what's criminal, what's civil, and how it affects the treatment of our public relationships. So to the point of emphasizing ultimately that police, as of this discussion, Captain Gouveia should seek a one-on-one with the Commissioner of Police and let him understand the importance of raising the standard of internal behaviors, compliments, respect for authority, and swift internal resolution. I think the public will begin to understand that the police work is not something that you can stigmatize them about, but if they do not comply, there's a resolution process. We need 24 hours night court. Somebody commits a minor offense, we don't have to wait several long days and weeks and months to get resolution passed them through the courts in the night. Have special judges to deal with small civil matters that takes you through a 24, 48 hours, 72-hour resolution process. Justice delayed is justice denied, and these are the things that are important. The criminal justice system will be complementary to police work. Internal disciplinary standards needs to be improved, and the relationship of respect for authority and public compliance will certainly gain effect in quick order in this country. And thank you very much, gentlemen, and keep up the good work.
Thank you very much, Captain Christiani. And we did hear your call. I'd like to welcome Commander Leron, Assistant Commissioner Leron Brummel. He's late for obvious reasons. Well, not obvious reasons. He was delayed. So I want to welcome you.
Thank you very much,
Assistant Commissioner. You did pick up on what Captain Christiani was talking about.
I got some.
And there were a number of issues that were raised before. We are talking about the conduct of police and rights and responsibilities of the public. And as I said, a number of issues were raised. I'm sure I'm going to ask you to come in shortly after we take a few more calls. Good evening.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Yes, thanks for coming through.
You're welcome. I must admit that, or agree with Captain Gouveia and what he's talking, and this is indeed a topic that a lot of citizens of Guyana have been suffering with, and I don't think there is a place where they can raise or talk about it. I'm talking from an experience. I was a young rider of a motorcycle, and once I was in the neighborhood road, not on the main road, and I was parked, and I didn't have on my helmet, and a police car passed. I've never had an encounter with the law before. The car stopped. 3 police officers came out and started shouting at me, and ended up putting me in the car, taking me to the station. And this police officer was at the top of her voice. The people around there were there looking at me as though I was some criminal or something. And the truth is, my first experience with police officer, sometimes I feel if I'm on a cycle and I have to see a police vehicle coming, I might run off the road. That's the fear they have embedded in me. One time I went to the station, and when I walk in the door, one police officer said to another, "Look, your kind come. We're not going to deal with them." Meaning, well, I'm not of your race, so I would not deal with you. When you walk into the station, I think that former caller who called here maybe would not have these on-the-ground feeling because of the position that he holds, but the ordinary citizen will tell you what the police officers do. And I walk in the station, and it's like they would say, "Sit there," as though you're a child, or as though, but I firmly believe that our young ranks growing up in in the system. They do not understand the law. They don't understand how to deal with the public. And I firmly believe when these people come into the rank of being a police, they should be taught and properly taught the law of Guyana with regards to the police force. Thank you.
Thank
You
you
know, Martin,
very
we
much.
spoke here about people's dignity, their pride, and their self-esteem must never be violated.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of what is coming through there is talking about that. But I will say to you, and I spent 15 years in the army, and I've been very close to issues with the police force, and there's no policy that says what that girl reported there, that there's any kind of racial division or racial policy. The police force in the army is a Guyanese police force and a Guyanese army. And so this is individual men who are being stupid.
Yeah. Let me bring in Assistant Commissioner.
Thank you very much, sir. I must apologize for being late. You, the members of the public listening, I'm here. Thank you very much. I've listened to some of the comments since I have come in, and I want to be truthful. You hear these things and you see these things sometime. When persons are brought from the road, or we recruit them from the road, bring them into the service, they have about 6 months in the police training school. And one of the things we teach them etiquette, things like etiquette and these things. We teach them that to be courteous to members of the public, members of the public, and the force must be a professional force.
Yeah.
But time and again, you find you get breakdowns in these areas that we're talking about. And I'm of the view, as a commander, I'm of the view that if persons have committed themselves, reported, and action will have to be taken. If the report is made and action is not taken, the person who the report was made to, if he has not taken condign action, he or she will be dealt with. We understand what is happening with the ranks, their behavior towards members of the public. And that didn't warrant taking the lady to the station. We have the anti-crime patrols out there, and they're responsible for anti-crime, not stopping people and checking for documents and these kind of things. Their duty is to try and pick up these fellas that are trying to make you uncomfortable on the road. We have within our system an Office of Professional Responsibility that deals with reports of this nature. As long as the investigation comes in, I know the commissioner, as long as you think it warrants going to the Office of Professional Responsibility, that's in the headquarters compound, the persons come in there, we deal with it. I've listened to the caller prior, and I want to agree with most of the things that he has said. But I must tell you that we're trying our utmost. This force is 172 years, and we will go and leave it. But some of the persons in the force, as long as they cannot adjust to the situation, we have to get rid of them.
I think the important thing, that citizens out there want to know that the hierarchy of the police force is aware of these issues and are dealing with them.
Yes, sir. I can tell you I'm at admin in headquarters there. And you find persons coming from divisions and reporting to me. And the first thing I see when they come, I say to myself, I'm not telling them that I'm not in a division anymore. There got to be something isn't going good in that division. That is why they come to me.
Yeah.
And as soon as I get the report, I call the commander. I said, look, I have this report. He said, well, sorry, I don't know anything about that. But let a person come, we'll deal with the matter. And as long as people deal with report these matters, we'll deal with them.
You see, I think, Martin, and this is, it's good that the police force got this system, but I think we should probably, and this is something we will have to discuss at the other level, maybe, where we have an independent, we have with Justice Kennard doing her, but I think this Office of Responsible Behavior and so on, I think if we could find a system where that the public could have the confidence, and an office that is independent of the police force, that deals with these issues in collaboration with the police. But people must have access to that office on a day-by-day basis. And this thing the girl is talking about, widespread in the private sector, we get this complaint all the time that people are being taken to police stations and put to sit-in benches for 2-3 hours and wasting our productive time. We are trying to do all kinds of things in healthcare, for example, to make our citizens more healthy so we could have them more productive. And at the same time, we have the police force taking people and putting them to sit in benches and wasting their time and treating them like criminals. And all they did was a traffic infraction. Yeah. And so I'm glad the commander is here to talk about those things.
Good evening. Thanks.
Good evening to you guys.
Can I
I'm
ask-
just calling basically regarding, I resided away from Guyana about for 20 years now. And I came home back to Guyana due to my mom's death. And as to date, the Guyana police force has not said or put any information regarding who my mom killers are. And I find it very disturbing to know what kind of system we're having in this country that cannot actually help when someone of 72 years old has been murdered. Captain Gouveia that is sitting there, he knows my mother. He is part of our family. And I want to know what is taking this long to bring the people them to justice where my mother is concerned. It's painful. I got to explain to my 7-month-old son, who I brought to Guyana for his grandmother to hold it. I got to explain to my other 5 kids in the United Kingdom what happened to her. And as today, these guys that killed my mother, I cannot hear nothing. Captain Gouveia, you part of my family, and you know that we need help. And I need some urgent help before I leave this country. Thanks for your kind cooperation.
Thank you very much. You do have our sympathy. Do you wish to comment, Assistant Commissioner, on that kind of scenario?
Well,
Maybe not the specific.
I
yeah.
listened to the gentleman just now, and I moved by, you can see like he was kind
Emotional.
of
Yeah.
emotional while he was speaking here. We know that if matters occur, especially crimes, police have a duty to investigate these crimes. I don't know if it's a matter on the East Coast or where, but I knew a big person was killed a couple of months or so ago. At this stage, I cannot say what is the present position, but what I would advise is that person, if the person can, probably go to the commander in which area that thing happened. I'm quite
I think people got to be assured that the police is investigating.
Yeah.
I think this is where we may be failing in not giving people a sense of confidence.
Or even telling them what is
Yes.
going on.
We need to inform them what is happening, and maybe the police say, okay, we are doing our work and we don't need to explain to the public. Well, the public is your friends. That we are here together in this boat together, and it's an issue of confidence. We need to reach out to the public and tell the families because they are emotional.
I would like, sir, after the program is finished, if we can get a person and let me get some particulars from that person.
Yeah. If I could
We'll
ask
give
that
them-
caller once we wrap up
Yeah.
to call back and Assistant
We need to
Commissioner
get the information.
can talk to
We'll deal
you.
with it.
Good evening.
I'm a taxi driver, right? I'm calling this to the the assistant commissioner that's sitting there. It is right? If you drive in your car or your bus and you commit a traffic offense, it's whether the police must say you must put everybody out of the car or the bus and report the station, the lodge the bus, they send you away, put you on $10,000 bail for traffic offense. Then tell you come back the next day, they tell you have to go to court first before you get back the bus and all that. I'm saying the bus can't commit the offense if the person driving it. So if you charge the man for the man on bail, why you still detaining the man vehicle in the police station? This is all I have to ask the assistant commissioner.
Assistant Commissioner, is a direct question. to you.
Well, sir, it depends on the traffic offense that may have been committed. I don't know if the person commits a breach regularly, but surely we have to use our discretion, the police. If I am driving a minibus and I'm going to drop in persons to work, especially in the morning hours, you want to go to work for 8 o'clock. I mean, it will be very hard running if the police stop you and tell you that you have to put off the persons. If you're an unlicensed driver, fine.
Yeah.
If you don't have a driver's license, fine. But then
If you jump the traffic lights or something.
if you're a person that is wanted by the police, warrants are out
Yeah,
for you, you may find this kind of action. But under ordinary circumstances, sometimes I to overtake on the solid yellow line and these kind of things. I can pull you over, tell you, look, you put off the passengers and you report to the station, take the particulars, rather than saying put off. It looks very bad sometimes, And I mean, I'm a person, if I pass a morning and I'm seeing that, I usually call the ranks to find out what is the reason for putting off the persons.
Yeah.
I mean, we have to use our discretion.
Yeah, I think discretion is very
have to use our
important
discretion.
in dealing with the public here.
So, I hope that the fellow has heard what I'm saying. I hope he's not a regular, habitual breaker of offenses, and that's the reason why the police is dealing with him like that. But if he continues to get the thing, simple, make a report. You're being harassed, make a report. And
But generally, is there a requirement to detain the vehicles and that sort of
well,
thing?
sir, sometimes it does be called upon. Sometimes, you may have a campaign, you may want to check somebody, because, we're talking about noise nuisance. We're talking about fitness. Some of these fellows has got the speakers. They got some small speakers now,
Very powerful,
small
yeah.
speakers that are making a whole set of noise. So sometimes you need to check on certain things of the vehicle. Roadworthiness and these kind of things.
Sure. Good evening.
Yes, good night to you. Now, there's two questions like that. The first question is that you guys are sitting there, would any one of you work for like $200 for a month? That's the first question. That's like at least $40,000 a month. Police officers, the average rank work for $40,000 a month. And I'm pretty much sure you guys work for like 10 times more than that. And the police officers, the minute they step on duty, they are risking their lives, which you are supposed to be aware of that. The second thing is this, none of you cannot sit there and say to the public that any of the complaints that you're receiving now, that you haven't been aware of it for the past 5 years, for the past 10 years. What is this show all about? Because the point is that you are aware of all of these complaints and nothing has been done. This is just a gimmick. Nothing is going to be done about all of these complaints that is coming in here tonight. I'm pretty much sure about it. I can put my neck, I can even bet money, cash, and I can win. Anyone you want to bet me right now? That all of the complaints that is coming in right now, nothing is going to be done about it. Is anyone you want to make a bet tonight? Please, let's make a bet.
All right, we do get your point.
Okay, so it's just the gimmicks you have there right now. It's just a show, right?
Yeah.
It's wasting our time, wasting the taxpayers' money, right?
No, I disagree with you.
Man, you cannot look at the public and say this is the first time in history that you are hearing about any one of these complaints that you're receiving tonight. None of you can say that. So even the guy there that's representing the police force, he knows about everything. What does anybody do anything about it? Absolutely not. It's going to continue like this. All right? So that's no waste time.
All right, thanks very much.
Let me just say this to the caller. And actually, I could probably relate with his frustration. And it is an ongoing problem. And he's right. But I will tell you, I am a private sector person. And I would not be sitting here and I would not be part of the Law and Order Commission if I didn't believe that I have been seeing an effort to change this. And daily, the police force is recruiting more members. And we are right here from our societies. And so there is an effort. And the fact that there were so many policemen placed before the courts tell you that there's effort to deal with this matter. Maybe a lot more need to be done. And that's why we're here. And that's why I was able to talk and say the things. Because like the gentleman, I agree with him. But I am not here to waste my time. And I certainly I don't expect any one of you to be wasting your time here.
And in fact, this is why we are convening these type of programs to get a feedback from the public.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the public must know that, for us in the private sector, we'd like things to happen a lot faster than it's happening. But we have learned that we have to be involved and we have to have a constructive engagement and judge it by the results we bring to the table. And we are working on it.
Yeah. Good evening.
Hi, good evening. I'm calling to make a complaint. Is the police allowed to cut off a rastafarian here who's been going this here for 16 years?
Okay, I think...
Making a complaint on behalf of my husband.
All right, sure.
But before, maybe what she could do is really, if after the show as well, she could call in to speak to the commander, because that is atrocious. And right
now he's being victimized by one policeman. And it's sad to know that even so many places there's nothing that can be done. And I'm hurt. But this, as the man said just now, it would keep going on, and there's nothing no one would do about it. Right? Like now my husband is being victimized. He's in prison. He's being victimized by one policeman who has the power to do what he feels, a abused my husband repeatedly, continuously, all the time, and no justice is being served. And cut off his hair that he's been growing for 16 years.
Yeah.
And I would like to know what could be done about that.
All right. I'll ask.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'll ask the assistant.
Thank you very much, Mom. I don't think it's the right thing. If that's the man's religion or whatever it is, the police have no right to cut off that man's ear. That's wrong. Totally wrong. It's totally wrong. I feel your frustration. What I can advise, if you're anywhere in Georgetown or your husband anywhere in Georgetown or any of the country areas, and you can come to my office tomorrow morning, I'll deal with the matter. That's at Ivleary. I'll come to Ivleary, ask for Assistant Commissioner Administration, and I'll deal with that matter.
Okay. We're going to take one more call and then wrap up. Good evening.
Oh, good evening. Thank you. I just want to say one thing. They have good police officers and they have bad police officers. Right? Is one. Two, a bad mango can spoil a whole barrel. Now, like for instance, I was in Bar Street, and at the head coming out of Bar Street, heading to like a GDF side here. When I reached the car and I stopped, when I turned out, two police officers stopped me. When they stopped me, about 4 other vehicles was pulled over. They tell me, why didn't I stop at the car? And I said, I stopped at the car. And they said, no, you didn't stop at the car and get down to Kitty. Right? Get down to the police station. Anyway, I went down. When I go, they had me sitting there for 1 hour and a half. I sit down there for 1 hour and a half. When the traffic officer come, he tell me, $10,000 bill for you. I said, $10,000 bill for what? He said, you didn't stop, you didn't adhere to the road rules. I said, I stopped at the corner. How can you say I didn't stop at the corner? I turned and just said, so what happened to the rest of the people that you pulled over? Were there? I was the only one there. Anyway, I start, a lady coming out, and she was a police officer that turned and said, here, y'all just wasting this man time. You saying he didn't stop, he saying he stopped, and it just wasting him for long. It wouldn't even go anywhere in the court. You're just wasting the man time. You understand? There's one. And next thing, I was in a story with some people throwing some missiles to my home. I take the breakdown, we went to court and everything. I take the missiles to the police station. You know why I didn't actually get my full satisfaction? The guy lawyer ended up saying that the missiles as the evidence never went to court. When people take the evidence, where do the evidence go when the prosecutor time now to carry the case through? Where is the evidence when people report it and even take the evidence? That's what I would like to know. And thank you. Doing a good job.
Thank you very much. We have a few minutes, Captain Gouveia, Assistant Commissioner. There was a lot of things being said here, and especially it relates to the conduct of police, whether on the road or in police stations. Some closing comments, and what do you have to tell the members of the public? Let me ask Captain first.
Just to reassure people, I mean, the Law and Order Commission is actually not, it meets on a regular basis, and it consists of a wide cross-section of individuals, and they're certainly not government people, they're certainly not police alone, and they're lawyers, they're opposition members, they're people from a wide cross-section of civil society, the private sector, and it's an extremely interactive commission that deals with a wide array of issues. And sometimes it is a little frustrating because I think, like the gentleman said, you know, it looks like if it's taking too long to implement the changes. But I'll tell you, I sit there and I am comfortable that efforts are being made to reform the system. Maybe not fast enough, but it's happening.
Yeah. Assistant Commissioner?
Well, Sir, I have listened. I've not gotten everything from thing, but for the bit that I've listened here, I'm of the view that persons really get frustrated when they go to the police and they do not get any satisfaction. I want to say we're trying our utmost in the force to train ranks to deal properly with members of the public. We have this at our management, senior management level. When we have meetings, our commissioner is on us for us to go down there, the commanders to go, there's the divisional and branch commanders, to make that a topic on their agenda when they have the instruction classes also. And we have been doing it. And you have sometimes that junior ranks handle members of the public in the presence of subordinates, and they cannot take action. They are very weak. We have to deal with them. What I also want to tell point that if they go to one area and they have not gotten any satisfaction, they can always go to another area of the force. If they're not getting satisfaction in the division, they could come to headquarters. They have the police complaints authority. Also, other than the OPR, they have the police complaints authority that they can go and make complaints to at breakdown. And it pains me because I'm a human like anybody else. And if sometimes somebody call me and tells me something, I get pretty annoyed. But then they say a story has two sides.
3 sides.
2 or 3 sides, yes. Many sides. So I just want to get to the point. But then sometimes it really aches because something that happens. And I want the caller who said that if we don't know anything about that for the past 5 years, we've known about this for a long time. And we keep preaching to these ranks. Many of them now are before recruit. Some of them have lost their job because they're not adhering to the rules and regulations. But when you go downstairs sometime dealing with the junior persons and see you're not getting help, you have to go upstairs. You don't just line downstairs because those downstairs sometimes push you around, and you cannot take that.
And how easy is the public access to get to you and to get to to the complaint authority to ensure that they feel a sense that they're. I think this is what people are talking about. I mean, it's all well and good to say come down to Evaleri, but how do you get through that gate and how do you get up to see such a senior man like you? Is it a process that is easy?
I always leave one thing. My office is always open. You don't have to make appointment to see me. You just turn up and I'm there.
Good.
Just turn up, ask for me. As long as you go to the gate, ask for me, they'll send you to me. You don't have to make any appointments to see me. And I mean, I'm not the only person that they can talk to. They have other commanders, senior thing. Because most of the things that I'm downstairs and it doesn't reach the top to the commander. Right? But then sometimes they're not getting through. When they go to the inquiries, they must go upstairs and see the commander. Or go other places. I know a man left West Demerara the other day. Came to me. A woman came the other day to me from West Demerara also. All the divisions persons come to me. And I usually call a man came as far as quarantine the other day to me. And I call the commander, say, look, so he said, Mr. Brown, send a man to me immediately. The matter has been dealt with.
You have been watching NCLO Presents. In this program, we were talking about the conduct of police and the role, the responsibilities of and rights of the public. I want to thank very much Capt.Gerry Gouveia, a member, a commissioner on the NCLO, and Assistant Commissioner Brummel. And to all those who called in, make their contributions, contribute towards the program. I want to thank you very much. I know there were many other persons trying to get through, but time is limited with us. Thanks for staying with us.